fail. Where's the excitement? Harry was caught sullenly leaving court after being questioned about almost torturous lies. He must have longed for the schmaltzy embrace of Oprah. The Duke of Sussex initially seemed pleased to finally have his day in court, but after 5 bruising hours of cross-examination, one wonders if he felt quite so buoyant. Finally, here we are. Curtain up and the drums are a-rolling. Lights, action, and here comes the judge, followed by Harry, a day late. In the corner of a civil courtroom, sitting in a pale wood witness box, Harry in the beginning seemed pretty happy to finally have his day in court. But after 5 rough hours of being cross-examined by Andrew Green KC, acting for Mirror Group newspapers, I can't help but wonder if his mood was so buoyant. The respectable barrister took Harry through his evidence step by step, and time after time it seemed like Harry struggled to really verify the facts of his case, and it seemed like he didn't really have an understanding of the details. He was incredibly vague about when he had first read the MGN newspaper articles in question. And he was also incredibly vague about exactly why he thought the information printed had been gleaned by illegal methods. Harry was even vague about a hunting trip that he took with his then-girlfriend Chelsea Davy to South Africa back in 2005. Now, this is the kind of occasion you may believe anybody would remember, what with the lions and giraffes and rhinos thundering around, but no, Harry said, "I don't recall." They asked him repeatedly about how he could prove articles had actually been hacked, and he would say, "You'd have to ask the journalists themselves." In fact, the only weapon that Harry really used was saying that the timing was suspicious. Now, more complicated inquiries were met with, "That is a question for my legal team." It was pretty shocking. At various points, Harry also couldn't remember what his lawyers had or had not shown him before the trial started, and he really struggled to be precise. More than thousands, perhaps millions, he guessed, on the number of articles that were written about him. So the sketch was basically very sketchy and not very clear, and then Harry's big picture was incredibly vivid, overwhelming, and not really shocking. "I've experienced hostility from the press since I was born," he said. "While it is easy to demonstrate how untrue this is what Prince Harry believes to be true, which is why we find ourselves here today." Over and over again, Harry would look at the judge, taking it upon himself to explain to Your Honor how the newspaper industry really functions. "Knowing what I know in my experience," was how he put it. He also took a little bit of time to sneer at specialist journalists and suggested they were using imaginary sources. But there was at least one occasion when it became abundantly clear that Harry's understanding of newspapers is not quite as comprehensive as he believes it to be. "I've never heard of anyone writing a story that has been printed before and selling it on," he said, which must have given the news editors across the world a good laugh on a pretty depressing day. For his big moment, Harry was there wearing a dark suit, a white shirt, and a purple tie, and of course his beaded bracelets on his right wrist. The courtroom, with its low ceiling and pretty unflattering lighting, was bustling with silks and wigs, at least 5, including Harry's barrister, David Sherborne. And all about the place, there were so many boxes of evidence, a testament to the many hours of work and the millions of pounds this case is costing. In the box, Harry was often asked to search out paragraphs in his witness statement, in various legal bundles on numbered pages of the box files that Harry had to get from the floor. At one point, Harry grumbled, "It's like doing a workout." Mr. Sherborne had to arrange for a junior lawyer to sit next to Harry to help him figure out the paperwork, something that even Johnny Depp managed to do all by himself in his London trial. For people in the courtroom or watching the court feed, it was a pretty interesting spectacle. Harry has never been seen like this before, under a lot of pressure, being asked to account for himself and all his accusations in the somber confines of a court of law. Now, to be fair, public questioning is nothing new for Harry, but this was very different from being indulged by his showbiz buddies in a rose garden. Because this was serious, this was formal, and this was incredibly precise. As Mr. Green circled time and time again, I'm sure that Harry was missing the schmaltzy embrace of an Oprah interview, or the kid gloves that his friend Tom Bradby from ITV used during their interview. Instead, Harry had to face the forensic Mr. Green. So what, he barked at one point, as Harry was dithering on about some irrelevant complaint. It's really no surprise that Harry's level of irritation seemed to rise as the day progressed. You don't need to be a genius to figure out that would happen. So anyway, there he was just the same. Repeat the question he demanded at one point, and at other times Harry had trouble finding the evidence on the screen in front of him. It is on the screen in front of you, Mr. Green told him. And then Harry responded, "It is not." "I think it is," said the lawyer. "If you say so," said Harry. He's a 38-year-old man who can still sound like a petulant teenager when he wants to. Hour after hour, the Harry that we saw in court was a dangerous mixture of victimhood and arrogance, and the latter usually took precedence, but still his broken side, the victim side, was never very far away. I think my favorite exchange of the day was a very revealing one over a news item about Harry celebrating his 16th birthday in a Fulham gastropub. So Harry was absolutely convinced that MGN had learned about this story using illegal methods. Mr. Green, however, suggested that the celebrity chef who worked there may have actually called the newspaper. And then Harry said, as a chef, he would be too busy to make that call. Well, then Mr. Green suggested that maybe he would have had other chefs working for him. "I have no idea. I have never worked in a kitchen," said Harry, somehow managing to contradict himself, act like an entitled snob, and not make any sense all at the same time. It was remarkable. But ultimately, what came out from this historic first day of Harry's in court is, I would assume, a man who is strangely insubstantial and just cannot admit that he's wrong, even when he is presented with overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Harry often complained in general vague terms about his treatment by the media over the years, instead of actually talking about the specific issues that were being put to him. "Prince Harry, let's try and focus on the question I am asking," said Mr. Green at one point. He was getting tired. It was late in the afternoon. And the case continues. Prince Harry is going to be back in court today. Maybe if he had just come a few days earlier, his counsel would have had time to prepare him for the testimony. But let's remember, Harry's not really good with dates and times and places and facts. These things are just not very useful to him. This is a man who isn't even sure on what day he got married. Harry is simply not used to awkward questions. The fact is, any questions that aim to get to the truth are unfamiliar to Harry. And it is pretty interesting and kind of funny to see him doing all this to himself. After all, this is what the TV people should be videotaping. It would be a lot more entertaining than that stupid Netflix special. Pretty much his entire life, Harry has been hearing how special he really is. He has surrounded himself with yes-men for the past 5 years, so it looks like he doesn't realize that he has become an absolute laughingstock, a fool, a buffoon. Whatever happens, Harry's always going to be angry about something or another, so I would guess after this case is finished, the next drama is going to be coming up soon. My news today has ended. What do you think about it? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments section. If you preferred our video, don't be afraid to like and share it with your friends and relatives who would enjoy it anytime you want.